Section 2.3, this is writing linear equations. So this is definitely something that's not new to you. I've got highlighted up here the important parts. First of all, let's talk about what an intercept is. An intercept of a line is a point where the line crosses an axis. So wherever you have the xy axis here, like so, okay? And if I were to take a line wherever it hits the axis, well, right here, you'll notice it hits the x-axis. That's called the x-intercept. And right here, it hits the y-axis. That's called the y-intercept. Now, today, you're going to be using the y-intercept quite often. Okay, so a special form of a linear equation is called slope-intercept form. And again, I know 99% of you have heard of this and you have seen this before. And as you watch the previous video, y equals mx plus b. Okay, that's slope-intercept form of an equation. So, again, on this, y equals mx plus b, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept, or where the line crosses the y-axis. And the ordered pair for the y-intercept is always 0, and whatever that number is, b. Okay, so the first thing they're going to ask you to do is to write an equation in slope-intercept form. And what they're going to do first is they're going to give you the slope, they're going to give you the y-intercept, and you simply just have to substitute this in. So, in here, letter A, it says that the slope is 1/5, and the y-intercept is 0, -3. So, this is your m value. That's going to go in for m. So y equals, instead of m, I'm going to have 1/5 times x plus this guy right here is your b value. So in this case, it's going to be -3. So we're going to clean this up here. Y equals 1/5. Okay, y equals 1/5 x and then -3 because it's negative. Okay, and now this is in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's take a look here at the second one. On the second one, it's a little bit different because I've given you a graph, so I haven't actually told you what the slope is or what the y-intercept is. In this case, you're going to have to figure this one out. So, a couple of steps here first. Let's figure out, okay, what is the y-intercept? Well, as I look at the graph, I see that the graph hits at this point. There is the y-intercept where it hits the y-axis. That's the ordered pair 0 and 4. So I know that b is going to be 4. Now, what I have to do is calculate the slope. Remember, slope is rise over run. So I want to know how much it goes up or down over how much it goes left and right. Okay, so I want to go from one dot to the next. So as I'm going here, I want to go from this dot right here to this dot right here, but I can't go along the line. I've got to go only up and down or left and right. So when I do this, I go down. I'm going to go down 3 units, and I'm going to go right 1 unit. So the slope is -3 over 1, or simply -3. Okay, so I'm going to use this information right here, and I'm going to use this information just like I did a second ago, and I'm just like I had in letter A, where I have a slope and a y-intercept. So my equation of this line, y equals my slope, which is -3 times x, and then plus my b value, which is 4. Okay, so that's the equation in slope-intercept form. Again, y equals mx plus b. Okay, now we're going to look at a graph. Again, one more example of a graph here because I want to just show you kind of what your practice problem is going to look like. So let's take a look here at this. Let's take a look here at, yeah, we'll go with this first example because it's kind of hard to tell a little bit as well. All right, so in this first example, again, what I want to figure out, 2 things. I got to figure out the y-intercept, and I got to figure out the slope. So on the y-intercept, where does this line cross the y-axis? So as I'm following this line, it crosses an axis right here, but that's the x-axis, so I don't want the x-axis. I keep following it, and it's going to cross the y-axis at this point right here, which happens to be the point 0 and -5. Again, that's going to be my b. Now, you'll notice on this one, there's not another dot like there was on the last graph. So what I want to do is I want to find a point on this line where it exactly hits perfectly. So like right here, see it doesn't hit perfectly on that little cross section, but right here it does. Okay, and now I can calculate my slope from one point to the next. From this point to this point, how do I get there? Well, in this case, I have to go down, and I'm going to go down 5. And then I'm going to go right 1. So in this case, my slope is -5 over 1, or -5. My b value is -5, or 0, -5. So when I plug this into y equals mx plus b, okay, y equals m is -5 times x, and then -5 because 5 is negative. This is my equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so now you should be able to complete these problems below with being able to put an equation or a graph or certain information into slope-intercept form.